And next up at UFC London, we've got Brando Pericic taking on Louie Sutherland. Carlos, who you got in this one?
In this one, I'm going to take Brando Pericic. I think he's just going to be the more athletic, obviously the taller fighter. He's got a lot of reach that Sutherland's going to have to get through, and he can move. Like he's not stiff, he's not lumbering, he's not flat-footed. Uh, he's a pretty decent, moving heavyweight, and I think that's going to pose just a little bit of a problem for Sutherland. Although Sutherland is actually very technical, he's got good Muay Thai, well, good kickboxing. He's big, he's physical, but he doesn't have that big power. You know what I mean? Like he sets everything up, which is great. He sets up some of his hands with his kicks. He sets up his kicks with his punches. He does everything you're supposed to do. He just doesn't have like big power. But over time, he will impose himself on most of his opponents on the regional scene, and that's how he gets the job done. And even on the ground, like he's just not some guy that once he's down there, he's stuck. He finds a way back up. He uses technical abilities to get back to his feet, some wrestling. And you know what I mean? Like he's good. He's a solid fighter. I just think like he struggled against a guy who was, maybe an inch taller, around the same size as him, like weight wise. And he was lumbering, slow, and Sutherland had issues getting him out of there. There's nothing wrong. You run into a tough guy every now and again, but he struggled in a way where he shouldn't have just because of the size of the guy. And I feel that Perisic, he's going to pose the same issue, but he's also going to be able to move like a regular athletic heavyweight. Now he's not a super athlete, but he's more athletic. He's not stiff. He's not lumbering. And I think that's what's going to be the difference in the fight. And once he puts some punches together, I don't think he's going to finish it. Sutherland's a tough guy. He could possibly do that. I just think Sutherland defensively fights pretty smart, and I think offensively he's pretty smart. So I think they're going to go the distance. I'm going to go with Brando to get it done.
Yeah, I like this kid Perisic, especially at the heavyweight. It needs a little bit of new blood and some excitement. I think he's a decent fighter here, fighting out of city kickboxing. And as Carlos mentioned as well, I think the better athlete in this matchup. I don't necessarily trust Sutherland. He doesn't have that one-punch power, as Carlos did touch upon. Obviously fought over in the PFL. He does have a little bit more MMA experience here than Perisic, but I just think Perisic is just the guy that can come in and finish a guy like Sutherland. He can rip to the body with kicks. He can come upstairs as well with the head kick, and I think he really looks to do damage when it comes to the striking. When it comes to Sutherland, I think sometimes he pushes you up against a fence, looks to go for takedowns, looks to beat you up in the clinch. But I think Perisic's going to be too big for all that. I think realistically he can keep this one out at range and land, I'm going to say, a TKO body kick and actually get this one done early, maybe in the second round. I just think here with Sutherland that he does have more experience, but it's one of these fighters where Carlos used a description of him before we broke this one down and said he looks like the kind of guy that we get on the mic and have a kind of WWE promo. He looks like a guy that, can kind of talk the talk, but I don't think he can walk the walk in the heavyweight division. He doesn't look like he can get guys out of there. Obviously, fighting in the PFL is a different, kettle of fish, and I think that Perisic here is a guy that could definitely make a run at heavyweight. He carries power. He has good takedown defense. He comes from a wrestling base. He's at a good gym in city kickboxing. I like this kid. I think he's definitely going to get it done. I'm going to say inside the distance here with a TKO second round body kick for him to get it done. So unfortunately, Sutherland, we're not going to get that promo, but I do think that Perisic gets this one done.